Hi, everyone, and welcome to Heart Mind Conversations with Cheryl Piper. I'm so excited. It's Wednesday, and Wednesday's interview day, and that's always so much fun. And so, for those of you who don't know me, I am Cheryl Piper, and men and women challenged by divorce, job loss, heartbreak, they hire me to help them to uncover sabotaging behaviors that are really blocking their success. So, we're going to move into our show today, and our theme this week is unleashing the power of the heart. And so, today we are going to talk about finding joy in your life. And this is so awesome because our guest today, his name is Joy Resor, and she is an author of three fantastic books. I can't wait for you to meet her. I'm going to bring her up from the lobby, and we are going to get started on our show. And before I bring her up, I just would like to invite everyone who's watching over to my business page, which is at Cheryl Piper Sends Love. I've pushed this out in a lot of different areas, on a lot of different hubs. And if you comment on any of those, I won't be able to see it. So you're welcome to watch wherever you would like to. I would just love for you to be part of the show, and I know Joy would as well. So if you would come over to my business page, or you can click the link that's in the description of wherever it is that you're watching, and that will bring you over to the original post for the broadcast. And then we'll be able to see your comments live and talk with you. So I am going to bring my guest up from the lobby, and here we go. Joy is coming up, and here she is. Hey, Joy.
Hi, Cheryl.
How are you doing today? Welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much. I am wonderful, and I'm very happy to be here with you today.
Oh, well, we're so happy to have you. And a little bit of a story before I move into, asking Joy, kind of about her story and what brought her to doing what she's doing. I met Joy. We actually are in a group together, and Joy had reached out and introduced herself to me, and we had a conversation. And I can't even tell you, it was how long was it? It was crazy amount of time. We ended up
3 hours.
3 hours video chatting together. And I'm telling you what, this is what I talk about when I talk about being in that zone, being in that creative space, because time really does seem to stand still. And it did, didn't it, Joy?
I couldn't believe that I looked at the clock and my stomach was saying, it's time for dinner. Yeah.
So that's kind of our story of our very first meeting and talking to each other. So we just connected so well, and I invited Joy to be on the show. And she is an author of three fabulous books, and I cannot wait for her to tell you about the books. But first, Joy, I'd like for you to share with the audience, a little bit about, your backstory and what has brought you to this space of the spiritual direction and help that you do with people.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. Wow. It's been it's my evolvement. And I will say that my childhood was extremely painful. And I was given this birth name, Joy. Somewhere in my 30s, I believe, is when I started writing in a journal a prayer to become the joy I am created to be. And I didn't have any idea what I was doing or what that meant, but that just had come to me as something I needed to ask for, because I was a person walking around with wounds on my back, all the hurts from my past. And lo and behold, I have been led to classes, books, healers. When people used to ask me, where do you live? I would say, I live in synchronicity, because I would have just been so led everywhere that I need to be. And then to where I am today, I pinch myself that really I am an author of 3 very good, inspiring books, and they wrote themselves through me with unbelievable effortlessness, because what I believe is that my soul came to bring a lot of joy, and that I am in service to divinity. So the call that I had within my heart and my belly to become a spiritual director a number of years ago, the call to become a hospice volunteer, I just follow these feelings in my gut. Where do I need to be? And it's led me. And when I saw you interviewing someone, my gut said, hey, Joy, you belong with that woman. So that's why I reached out to you.
Well, that was a true thing. Yes.
Thank you. I used to be tucked into myself, low self-esteem, hiding in shame and blame, and all stuck in this egoic cycle of woundedness until I wasn't. and
Exactly.
and now I am so happy every day, so grateful every day. And I begin my mornings with a rather lengthy spiritual practice.
Oh, would you mind sharing with us, Joy? That would be wonderful.
Thank you. Sure. Let's see. I began writing a little bit about the day before in a 5-year journal that one of my sons had given me 4 years ago. Then I write in my gratitude journal 5 things that I am grateful for. Then I write in this other journal, which is thanking divinity for my day before, and writing a little bit about my day before, and then naming what I believe will be my day, because I'm not a goal setter. I am more of I believe this is what will happen, and I leave space in my day for what actually does happen. Then I pull a few cards. I have this animal wisdom deck that I pull from, and I have this other beautiful deck that I pull from. And next I read one page in 5 different devotionals. There are all these different ones from parts of my life. There's the language of letting go from the codependent part of my life. And Mark Nepo's The Book of Awakening. I don't know if you know that book, Cheryl.
I have heard of it. Yes.
It is, yeah, beautiful. And other ones that I don't want to take the time to name them all, and I sit in silence and with my eyes closed and just be in the presence of love.
And that is so important. If I can jump in just for a second, because I've been talking about that in a few different shows, and stepping into that space of silence, being in that moment of silence, to be able to hear what is coming to us. And without stepping into that space of silence, we keep our monkey minds so busy that we can't hear inspiration. We can't hear the intuitive part of us speaking to us and leading us into what's next. And that stillness is so important. And I say this often, and I have it hanging in my living room. My favorite verse from the Bible is Psalms 46:10, which is, be still and know that I am God. It is so powerful for us to still our minds. And so
Amen. Yeah.
sharing that. And then there was one other thing I'd like to back up a little bit that you said earlier about just kind of being, not planning, but being where you know where it is that you're supposed to be, and that's the most important thing that you're doing, because that's where you are. That's what's happening in your day. And it reminded me of Leo Tolstoy's story. Oh my goodness. Oh, The Three Questions. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it or
I'm
not.
not. No.
Check it out. I think that you will love it. And guys out there listening, check out Leo Tolstoy's short story called I'm sure it's called The Three Questions. If you Google that, you'll find it. It's not a book or anything. It's really just a short story. And it's basically about wherever it is that we are is exactly is the most important person, is the most important thing, is the thing that's supposed to have our attention, because that's where we are.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a real journey to get out of my monkey mind and the busy brain, but now to have that quiet mind and to be such a present person and to be in my body, because that was also, for years, I was kind of cut off and living outside my body. I am grounded and connected to everything. And bringing this presence of mine into the world, it brings love, peace, joy, and a spaciousness that's in me to receive what needs to be, so that I can really hear what another person is all about. You know, when we create a welcoming, loving presence, it's amazing what can come up.
It really is. Thank you so much for sharing that. And then Kathy had a thought. I popped it up on screen, but I'll pop it back up. And she is sharing with us that Ruth Haley Barton has some great writings on silence. So thanks so much for sharing that, Kathy. People can actually go Google that as well, because it is so important in creating that grounding, like you're talking about, and getting out of the head.
Yeah, and I really believe that divinity or God or source or whatever your name for that biggest energy beyond us desires a connection, and can only connect when we enable that with our attention and our space that we give to silence. And I believe that why these books wanted to be written through me, and they came through with such effortless and ease, because I had been given gifts of writing. I love writing, and I was available to receive these books. And maybe these books knocked on another person, and that other person didn't answer, but I received them. And so that they're not mine. They are for the reader through me. And I'm so grateful and happy, because I hear a lot of feedback that my books have really mattered to people.
And that's the whole thing right there. I mean, it's about giving to everyone in need, and those people who are ready for the message that you're sending out, it will be put in front of them and made available to them, which is so wonderful. Our job is just to put it out there, isn't it?
Yes. And that path that probably you went through, Cheryl, and that I went through, of not judging the creations that came and not saying, oh, who's going to want that? But finally, that now that I trust what comes through, and I know that what's coming needs to be in the world, and that my ego is not attached at all to how many books go in the world, how many people come to my classes, how many clients I have, because I am just with that person who is in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
That is the person that matters at the at the moment.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly what I was sharing with you about the Leo Tolstoy story. I want to show really quickly one of your books. I know you probably have some of your books there, but this I wanted to share when I opened it. This is called Go Enjoy an Alphabetical Adventure. And when I opened it to chapter G because these are all done as an alphabet. I just wanted to share with you. And I wasn't expecting in G some of the things that I found, like it's talking about girlfriends and things like that, which is great. I love it. I love it. And it is talking about gratitude and it is talking about grounding. So you do step into those energetic areas as well in this book. And so that's what I just wanted to share a little bit. Because that's where I opened it, and so I marked it to just mention it to you.
Thank you. Well, that's, that book came through in 2015 and I recently picked it up, and my consciousness was already rather high. And it's about energy healing, forgiveness, gratitude. When divinity visited me in 2011, there's a little story about separation is an illusion. We are interconnected, all connected. And that was something I didn't understand earlier in my life. The oneness.
I understand what you're saying. I remember when it came to me, and like you said, once you know it, you just know it, and you know it in every part of your being that I am connected to you. You are connected to me. We are connected to all, and what we do to each other matters to ourselves. I mean, it matters, and so this whole idea of what we're talking about of stepping out into the world with kindness and love and compassion, it matters. It matters if it's one person, it matters if it's 100 people, it matters if it's 1,000,000 people, it matters. It all matters because it's energy and we're all connected.
Yes. And that reminds me, Cheryl, of when I sang that song when I was 7, Let There Be Peace on Earth and Let It Begin with Me. And I remember that I sang it with every fiber in my being. And it wasn't until later in life that I realized what that song really was saying, that I knew, and I learned also in studying the Course in Miracles, that peace does not come in this illusory world of the drama of where we're living. Peace comes when we each heal into the peace we are, and that energy of that radiates into the world in all the ways that it does.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm also a student and teacher of A Course in Miracles. And that is absolutely what we learn in moving through those studies, that it's all coming from within. Everything is within us that we need to live this life in a connected, meaningful way. It's already in us. We don't need to go searching for it outside. It's not over there. It's not over there. It's not over there. It's right here. And
Yes. Yeah, and that reminds me of a conversation I had with a friend recently, but about how he was as a child, how I was as a child.
mhm.
And then we had that middle part of life of being otherwise, and how we have come back into this playful, joyful place where we understand the power of blowing bubbles and, you know, I understand,
Absolutely.
I understand standing in a sunbeam with my hula hoop. It's beautiful to who I am. I love doing it, and just moving the body, being in the body and moving it, and doing what our heart calls us to do. Um, and I am aware that I have a freedom that maybe not everyone feels that they have for where they are right now in life. But I would say that wherever you are in your life, if you can tap in a little bit to tweak something, to add a little play, maybe release something that's not serving you, maybe add gratitude, maybe replace a negative thought with a positive thought. But there's always a way to begin to become a more peaceful, joyful person.
Absolutely. That's a beautiful joy. And one thing I wanted to add on to that when you were talking about the thoughts is I talked about this in last week's show, where I was talking a bit more about the brain than the heart. This week I was talking more about the heart. But in looking at our thoughts, we have 60,000 to 70,000 thoughts every day. And 90% of those are the same thoughts as we had the day before. And so, therefore, we are creating our future from our past, from past wounds, from past pain, from things we haven't let go of. And this is what Joy and I are chatting about here, is in letting go of these things and maybe just changing one thought. We're moving in that positive direction to live a more positive life.
Yes. And if I may bring up my books at this point,
Oh,
and
sure. Go right ahead.
Cheryl, because to say a little bit about each one, and then those watching might understand if one or more is for them. That the first one came and Divinity woke me up and said, Joy, use the lessons of your life to inspire the reader. And it is questions, essays, and poems to inspire in this alphabetical format, which really is, all my books are alphabetical. It is a format writing that works so well for me. And the second book that came, what is a journal, it's called Venture to Your Center, journaling prompts to enliven your joy. And that is for the individual who it's filled with questions to help you go inside to discover more about yourself. Bring clarity perhaps to your understanding of who you are. And I believe it would be especially helpful to 3/4 of the world that are extroverts who need some support in looking inside and what they really understand. And then my third book is recently in the world, Designed to Shine, read aloud rhymes for any size heart, fully illustrated, that came last year as an on page 7, after I wrote 7 pages, I realized this is a children's book that will speak to the parents, the aunts, the grandparents, the uncles. It's consciousness in the form of a children's book to extend through me ideas like forgiveness and gratitude and balance and magic. Yeah. So these are all available through my website and on Amazon.
Well, I did want to put your website up as you were talking about that. So on the lower third of the screen, I have Joy's website kind of running across there, joyonyourshoulders.com. And so you can definitely reach Joy at her website, send her a message if you want to chat with her. And so, Joy, is there anything else that you would like to bring up and talk about that perhaps I haven't asked you about already?
Hmm. I have a very open mind at this moment. I don't have any thoughts about what's missing here. Does something come to you, Cheryl? Something else
No,
you'd like to know? Are we?
everything felt really good and a very good flow and a positive message out to everyone about what you are about, that you are really here to bring that joy to every life that you touch. That's what I'm hearing from you.
Yes. And I even had an astrologer told me years ago, she did my natal chart and she said, you are not meant to work one-on-one. You are meant to have a very large impact for joy. And at the time, my ego was like, no, like, couldn't I be a banker? Like, it didn't feel good that day when she told me that. That was about 6 years ago or 7. But these days, I've had more and more healing leading me to here from then. And I know that this is my work in the world. It is to be visible, to be a joy bringer. Um, where I am, people say, they tell me all the time that my energy feels so good and that they feel better being with me and they feel better when they leave me. And I just read one of my angel cards, it said about joy. That is the essence of joy. The angel of joy gives us something that makes everybody else feel better. so, so okay. Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. And I understand what you're saying. And when we step into that space where we are okay with the gifts that we have, like you were saying, you kept saying, no, no. I remember having those conversations with myself saying, no, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to, but you know what? After certain situations happen and you grow into who you really are and you're opening up, then you know that you can't be anything but what you were really brought here to be. Would you
Yeah.
agree? I mean, and then you just chuck it all and say, absolutely, I am here, I am willing, and I want to help. And that's what we're doing. So I love what you're doing, Joy. I love your message. And what I'm going to do is pop you back down into the lobby while I wrap up the show today. But I just wanted to give you a chance to say goodbye to everyone and any final thoughts.
Thank you so much, Cheryl, and thank you all who watched this live recording and all who will watch the replay. Also, Cheryl, did you want to mention what we have coming up in September?
We could go ahead and talk about that now because we're going to start doing some promos. So yeah, I'll go ahead. Joy and I have decided that we are going to put together a weekly show. And it is going to be on Thursdays at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. And this show is going to be based around that heart-filled energy. And so we will have different topics that we kind of, just unpack really and talk about each week. And we can bring in guests because, of course, with Be Live, I can bring in, we can have 4 people on the screen if we want to. So we can invite guests in to talk with us as well. You're always welcome to be part of the show and putting in your comments. And we're just excited about bringing more love and joy and compassion to the world by putting together a show that is just it's going to be a talk show based around that, and everybody's invited to be part of it. Is there anything you'd like to say about it, Joy?
Thank you, Cheryl. I am just very honored that that you asked me to do that, that you felt that I was a match to do this with you. And I'm excited for what we will be bringing to the world.
Oh, and thank you so much for being here and sharing your joy, Joy.
Thank you, Cheryl.
I will talk to you. I'll talk to you in a few minutes. We'll take you down to
Okay.
the lobby.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, everyone who is here live and everyone who catches the show on the replay, because I know that you're busy and you have a lot of things going on. So I appreciate the time you take to be here and be part of the show. So put your comments in, even if you're part of the replay. I monitor the posts and I'll definitely answer any questions that you have. And so I'd just like to kind of finish up by saying, well, first of all, Joy, my goodness, what a wonderful spirit that she has, and what a wonderful message to send out to the world. I'm very excited for us to put together our show coming up in September. Well, beginning in September, we're going to be here every Thursday. So if you are ready to step into your journey and remember who you really are and let go of all those past issues that have really been holding you back, I invite you to send me a message on Facebook, send me a message on my website, CherylPiper.com, and let's talk. Let's get together. I will see you Friday for my show Friday, which is, again, Meditation Friday. So we will be wrapping up the week. The theme is Unleashing the Power of the Heart, and we will be wrapping that up with a meditation on Friday at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. Enjoy your day.